Alhamdulillah. Allah fi kulli umri asta'in. Allah fi kulli umri amjid. Wa Muhammadun huwa sayyidina magbubana. Wa inhu kana rasulun nabiyyan. Salawatu ta'ala salamuhu alayhi. Salamu alaykum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh lil ikwani wa ikwati fi Afrika wa Europa wa Asia wa America kulli makan halan wa sahlan bikum wa kayfa halukum wa ailatukum ma Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, I had this notion to talk today because of some events that transpired that came to my attention about Ramadan and the persons who are advocating the abandoning of Salat in Ramadan and the offering Ramadan, offering their Psalm or their fasting. Psalm in Arabic means to fast, and offering that, but then not offering the Salat. And they argue that some argue that they know they should pray, but they don't pray, and they don't pray the whole year, so they feel they don't have to pray at all, even during Ramadan. Others say that they are sinful and that they know that they should pray, but they don't pray, but they still offer the Psalm, the fasting. Premier Sheikh Al-Din, great Sheikh Islam Kawadari, issued a pretty interesting fatwa concerning this issue, because he said it's up and up over many years. We have the same arguments within the Muslim community, where we have people who profess to be Muslims, they don't make prayer at all, and then when Ramadan comes, they don't make the prayer, but they make the Psalm, and they say there's no proof that says that they have to make prayer during Ramadan. And Sheikh Kawadari gave two big opinions from the scholars of many ages. That one said the person is a kafir, period, and the other one said no, he's rebellious. So they're both correct in some sense. I offer what Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, Sheikh Islam, what he says about this issue. And we have to look at the distinction in this regard. And I want you to look at this analogy. You have a person who goes into Ramadan. Now we're talking about Muslims here. We're not talking about those non-Muslims. We're not talking about those who make prayer, who make fasting for medicinal purposes and so forth. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about Muslims only. If you have the Muslim who comes into Ramadan, he's eager to make his Psalm, his fasting. Again, I'm using the Arabic word Psalm, the fast. And he is, but he doesn't make prayer. Then you have the Muslim who makes his prayer all year round. He comes into Ramadan and he continues his prayer, his 5 daily prayers. And he also makes Psalm. There's argument by some that says that the person who is the Muslim, who says he's Muslim, he makes Soam and he doesn't make Salat, and that the person, the other Muslim who makes Soam and Salat are on the same level. I disagree with that, because the Salat is a pillar of Islam, a major pillar, and the Prophet ﷺ has talked about about this, and there's many hadiths concerning this, that this pillar is important, because without this pillar you are a disbeliever, because he said in one hadith, as well famous, that the differences between the Muslim and the non-Muslim is the Salat. So how can you turn back around in Ramadan and then the person argues and say, well, look, I don't need to make the Salat. I'm okay. I can just do the Soam. I don't need to make the Salat. And my Ramadan is accepted as me, who come into the Ramadan and who've made, who's making his Salat and making his Soam. So this is a argument that has been laid out. And Sheikh Kawadawi, who's ill right now as well, and he's aging, but he issued this fatwa, and unfortunately it's in the Arabic language. For most people not to understand it, but with modern technology you can get it, and you can put it in Google. I don't like to Google translations as much, but one of the proofs that he gives, because he gives both sides of what the scholars of the ages said. Again, Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah said there was no negotiating. If the guy says he doesn't want to pray, or he's lazy to pray, or whatever the situation is, if he doesn't pray, regardless of the excuse, and he makes a Soam, his Soam is finished. I mean, his Ramadan is corrupted. It's false. It's no good. And then there's others that say, well, we don't have the rape, the knowledge what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is going to say to this Muslim who makes Soam during this month and who does not pray. And so both of the arguments are being used. And I say that I more or less go with what Ibn Taymiyyah has said, and there's others also, Sheikh Islam's, in this fatwa that he gave, that also I concur with them in that these persons who don't do this are disbelievers, because they were disbelievers before they came in, because they abandoned the Salat. Irrespective, they said, well, I'm lazy, I don't feel like it, I don't like to make wudu. The Prophet ﷺ made it clear about the Salat. And matter of fact, I'm to give you more emphasis of this. The Prophet ﷺ was even angry with the brothers who prayed inside their house, especially Fajr prayer. And he said in a hadith authentic that he wished he could go to burn down their houses, to bring them out of their houses and bring them back to the masjid to make their salat. So I asked the question myself, because the Prophet ﷺ did not have this problem at this time, where people start making the distinction, like you come into Ramadan, you don't have to pray. You just make your Soam and everything is okay. And then how about the Muslim that does? It sends a bad message, because if the ruling is that you don't have to pray in Ramadan, it's going to affect those who come into Ramadan and say, you know what? Hey, I've just learned that the Muslim, if he doesn't want to pray in Ramadan, he doesn't have to pray. So why should they make the prayer if they're going to go on with the ruling that says you don't have to? But my dear brothers and sisters, I will say to you, the people who are pushing this concept, don't follow it. It'll lead you to the fire, because the Prophet ﷺ had made it clear in hadith about taking away from the religion, and a famous hadith about offering innovations in the religion. And this is an innovation, because we have to ask the question, did the Prophet ﷺ do this? When Ramadan came around, did he abandon Salat? Did any of the Sahaba abandon Salat? No. Did the first 3 generations abandon the Salat during Ramadan? No. The generation after that, did they abandon the Salat in Ramadan? No, they did not. This innovation has been coming down in the last couple of 100 years, and now is really surfacing in the Muslim world a lot. And we have Muslims now confused because they see their brothers over the side over here, and they looking and laughing and say, hey, yeah, my Ramadan is just as good as yours. I don't have to pray. So why are you praying? Don't follow that, my dear brothers and sisters. Stay away from that. You follow as what the prophets ﷺ followed. The fatwa that he give here is good. And he did say that we should try to guide our brothers. Sheikh Kawadawi is not promoting that the people who don't pray and who during Ramadan that they're disbelievers or not disbelievers. He's not promoting that. What he's trying to say is because he's trying to use a psychological edge by saying that the Muslims who do feel this, we should go to them and say, look, brother, why are you? I want to make Psalm because I want to get close to super. I want the points. I want the azure, we call that. Then we should make dawah towards them and say, look, then, brother, why don't you make your prayer during the Ramadan as well? And this is this is his reasoning, because he's feel that if we jump on the ones who do not make prayer during Ramadan, they'll finally go ahead and abandon the Psalm as well. And he doesn't want to see them do that. So I understand his rationale. And in this way, I also agree with it. I was talking, matter of fact, with my wife about this issue beforehand, and we were debating about this. And I told her that, I know where we live, Morocco, we know there's people, that Muslims, who have adopted this philosophy that they don't have to make salat, period. Okay, all year round. I mean, it's all over the Muslim world, everywhere. All Muslim countries, 57 countries, they all have this problem now, this growing problem that people don't pray. They just don't. And in Ramadan, they even more adamant about not praying. They'll make the Psalm and go through that, but they will not pray. And I don't say anything to those who do this. I let them go. I don't say anything to them at all. I don't talk against them. I don't say anything to them. Only is when they come out from the cold, so to speak, or come out from the ground and begin to talk out on the street, is when I take issue with them. And we've had some that do this. That's why I'm here now talking, because I don't want my brothers and sisters in the United States and Europe and even in Africa to listen to this, because it's false and it's wrong. You do as the prophet. The original proof to this is by looking at the prophet, the companions of the prophet, the first 3 generations, and the generation after that. We look at that as the greatest proof to this. The Prophet ﷺ did not abandon the Salat, nor did his companions in Ramadan, nor did the first 3 generations abandon the Salat in the Ramadan. This is the proof that I use. And remember, when we talk about many issues, we talk about fiqh, we haven't got into that in my program, but I've mentioned in some other programs. When we have like a debate now, we have a dispute among us about who gets the azure, and it's up to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala if he's going to accept your salat or my salat. It's true. None of us can turn around and say that our salat and our psalm, fasting in Ramadan, is going to be accepted. Only Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has this rate. It's him. He have that. We don't have that. So only thing we can do is try to work towards getting that acceptance. I believe that in order to get that acceptance, you have to have both. You have to have the salat, which is a pillar that you have to, there's no days off. You have to do it with conviction in Ramadan, along with the fasting. I believe this is the more sure proof to get that azure from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, all the benefits of the Ramadan, if we do both. I do not concede that the person who does not pray in this month and he only makes Psalm is going to get the same azure as me. I can't see that. How can it be? The person is abandoning a pillar. And he can't. I can't see that. And again, as I said, in Islam, like those who would disagree with me now, what is the greatest proof that we have? Remember what we always use? We always go back what? To the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't go to a man and let the man to decide. We always go back to the Quran and Sunnah. If it's still unclear, then we go to the scholars like Sheikh Kawadawi, which is the premier, our our modern father of the Lil today. And so we follow him. We may disagree with some of the things he says, but we still follow his fatwas because they're sound. And he gives great arguments in his fatwa here about this issue. I contend to my brothers and sisters in America who don't have the access to the scholars and students of knowledge, and don't have the access to the Arabic, and they don't have access to the books of fiqh and Sharia and so forth and so on, that they don't follow those that you see who are not praying and who go out to advocate don't pray, and you don't have to pray in Ramadan, and that they're on the same level. You don't buy that. You continue to follow as what the prophet has done. The prophet said, you pray as I pray. That's a good recommendation to you. He prayed every single day. He did not take a 30-day vacation from prayer in Ramadan. That's ridiculous. It didn't happen. And I'm almost certain that if he found that there was a section of Muslims who during this time were doing this, I wonder what he would have done about it. I just wonder what he would have done about it. I don't think he'd been as gracious about it. He'd have been harsh, because he knows that this type of falsehood, misguidance can destroy the community, can destroy the Islamic community, because you have half the Muslims over here who don't pray and then they make Somm, and then they go to advocate that their Ramadan is just as good as my Ramadan, who I'm toiling the 5 prayers plus doing the Somm and making the dhikr. This guy is not doing anything. He's only making the Somm. So this is the issue that is raised. I gave you some verses in the Quran for you to do the research in this. The first one, like in Surah 21, Anbiya, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in here is talking about this, and Sheikh Kawadawi used this as one of his proofs, and I'll read it. We shall set up scales of justice for the day of judgment, so that not a soul will be dealt with unjustly in the least. And if there be no more than a weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it to account, and enough are we to take account. So he's saying, and I understand our great Sheikh, that he said that we shouldn't pass the judgment on the Muslims who are not praying in Ramadan. We should not pass judgment on them, that we should try to bring them to the right way and try to bring them to get the full azure in Ramadan by bringing them slowly to prayer. This is a hard task, because if they didn't pray during the year and they're adamant against prayer, and I don't know how we can bring them to prayer in Ramadan. They don't pray all year round, and they are adverse to it, and many fight the Muslims who do make prayer. They fight them. So how can we make dawah, so to speak, to a Muslim whose his obedience is to Allah and to the Prophet, alayhi salatu salam. So how can he abandon the salat? He cannot say that he's obeying subhanahu wa ta'ala and he's obeying the Prophet, alayhi salatu salam. He's not. And when these Muslims who are everywhere, I mean, they're saying this, you hear them in every country, in 57 countries, you hear them, 57 Muslim countries, you hear them say about this. I say to them is this: if this is not a pillar, it is a pillar. Then why did subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the condition to being a mu'min? Remember, I taught devout Muslim. Devout Muslim, he tells you how to be a devout Muslim. He tells you in what? in Surah 23 that you must protect the what? The salat, the prayer. Interesting, isn't it? This is Subhanahu wa Ta'ala telling us, if you want to be a devout Muslim, one of the conditions is that you must protect the prayer. So, my dear brothers and sisters, I hope you see where I'm getting at, because this is something I don't want to see, especially my African American brothers, being misled. And I think majority of them figured it out, that prayer is important. It is a beautiful thing in Ramadan. You're tired, you're hungry. It's a jihad. And remember, I talked about the jihad. The jihad and in Ramadan, the jihad is more of cleaning the heart than fighting Shaitan, because Shaitan is gone. He's locked up for 30 days. And you're not necessarily fighting the hypocrite or the disbeliever. In Ramadan, you're fighting yourself because you're trying to clean your heart from all of the stuff that's going to come out of it during Ramadan. You sitting there, you're hungry, you're thirsty. Suddenly, your nafs inside of you, your nafs comes out and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, why don't you go in there and get a Snicker? It's no harm. Your nafs will be telling you this, and you have to fight that. You got to clean yourself. You must ask Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in a dua. Ask him when you make your prostration to strengthen you and to clean your heart. I always ask this, especially in Ramadan, because all these things will come out, because now you can't blame it on the devil. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in this particular thing, he talks about bringing people to account. There's a lot of things that me, you, the sect of Islam, we cannot judge. We cannot. It's left up to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But we can give guidance to brothers and sisters, like my brothers and sisters in the United States, Canada, the African people who are misguided. Now, I will say this. This type of misguidance that I'm talking about now is everywhere. And even I heard some of my brothers in India and my brothers in Pakistan complain about this issue as well, that we have Muslims, they're promoting this. No prayer in Ramadan. It's like a 30-day vacation. You just make your prayer. You eat, you have parties during this time. My dear brothers and sisters, again, the best weapon that you have to combat this is by looking at a prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. What did he do in Ramadan? Did he abandon the salat? He did not. And then, if you're not satisfied with that, look at his companions that lived after him. Did they abandon the salat during Ramadan? No, they did not. Then, if that's not good enough, look at the three favorite generations that came after the companions. Did they abandon the salat? No, they did not in Ramadan. How about the last generation after that? Did they abandon the salat in Ramadan? No, they did not. So that's the proof that I need to tell me that I'm on the right track. Because how can you be a deep, devout Muslim 11 months of the year, and suddenly you come to Ramadan and somebody comes and tell you you don't have to make prayer in Ramadan. All you have to do is make psalm and everything is okay. Your Ramadan is accepted. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all, because I look at the Prophet ﷺ, what he said, and he said that the farqa, meaning the difference between the Muslim and the disbeliever, is what? Salat. So how you abandon that? And then other hadiths, he said that the person who abandons it is a kafir, is a disbeliever. And we had even Omar radiallahu anhu, who was hard about the salat, said the same thing. He went along and said this and backed up the Prophet ﷺ and said that these people who've abandoned salat is a kafir. We have three of the famous of the four madhabs who said that the person who abandoned salat is a kafir. Ramadan, or even after Ramadan or before Ramadan, he abandons, he's gone. We have one of the four madhabs who said that we should give them opportunity to we don't believe them to be kafir unless they make declaration and so on and so on. But the other three said, no, Declaration, no declaration. If you abandon the Salat, even in Ramadan, you're a disbeliever. So we have disagreements in the fields. Even the four madhabs didn't agree on this. Not to say that the other madhab said the other doctrine, because there's four doctrines. I told you before, there's four great doctrines that we use as a quote unquote a shortcut to get to the Quran and the Sunnah to understand it. And one of them disagreed. They're not saying that you can abandon the Salat and everything's okay. They're not saying that, but they were trying to give the persons an opportunity and a chance. Now, let's talk about the Sharia. Now, when my wife, say, goes to the Hezbollah police who enforce Sharia law, if we lived in a true Islamic state, and she's angry with me, and she sees I'm not making Salat, I've abandoned the Salat. Here's come Ramadan. She's had enough. She asked me, she said, Yahya, are you going to finally come to pray? Are you going to pray with me and the kids? Are you going to do this? Are you going to go to the masjid? Are you going to, and I told her no. Now, under the Sharia, the Muslimah, the Muslim woman, wife, has a right to go to the Hezbollah and complain. And if she wants, she can even ask for the divorce. And most likely, accordingly, the judge may grant it, according to the answers that are given. The Hezbollah come to get the proof. They come to me and they say, well, Yahya, I've been doing an investigation. I never see you in the masjid. I heard at work, you don't make your prayers as well. Now I found out from your wife that you don't make prayers inside the house as well. Is this true? And when I said, yeah, I just feel the Salat is not necessary. Okay, so they arrest me. They put me before the Qadi. The Qadi in Arabic is the judge. He then questions me. Now, there are the events that occur after this. The Amir al-Mu'mineen or the Sultan makes a ruling. They do give the person a chance before they do and had a punishment, a severe punishment on this person who's abandoned because he's a kafir. He's eliminated essentially. But under the Sharia, we give them an opportunity to come back to the fold of Islam. You see how serious this is? So how can the people, these misguided Muslims who are running around in the world, around the Muslims, trying to show them that you don't have to make Salat. You can just make your Psalm and then you don't have to pray. But if we lived in a true Islamic state and they ran that business, they would be in bad shape because the Hezbollah would come to get them and arrest them and put them before the Qadi. And before the Qadi can make a decision on you, he would alert the Sultan that he had a group of 30 men who advocate no prayer in Ramadan. And that they make their prayer and that the Subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to accept their Ramadan without the prayer. They would be in trouble. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is an important issue. I wanted to make sure my brothers and sisters don't get discouraged because Ramadan is difficult. It is a jihad, especially when you get older. Like I'm a senior citizen considered now, and it's more harder for me to get up because it's only a couple of hours between, and you got to get up early to fix your meal before the first Salat, before the break of dawn. You have to eat, and drink your last meal because you're fasting. It's more difficult when you get like, in the 60s, in the mid 60s, like me. It's more difficult. I don't want you to get discouraged because you see some Muslims over here who've abandoned the Salat and they're not even, and on top of that, most of them sleep all day. So they're not even making dhikr to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not doing any worship at all during Ramadan. They sleep until close to Maghrib. Then they come and get up and wait for the Maghrib, the Salat to Maghrib, which breaks your fast, and then they eat. Then they go out and walk around in the city, or they go to other people's houses and they eat a iftar meal that's outrageous, full of sweets, meats and everything else. That's not fasting. That's not what we're supposed to do in Ramadan. This bid'ah mean innovation. This is misguidance. Dalal in Arabic means misguidance. This is misguidance, and it's not acceptable in Islam because the Prophet ﷺ said in Hadith that every misguidance, every innovation is rejected and is to lead you to the fire. So remember that, my brothers and sisters. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said this, and it's there. And he made it clear. You innovate, you promote misguidance, you go to the fire. You could end up in the fire. So you be very careful. So I give you the proofs. Again, you see your brother, he argued with you. He said, hey, look, there's nothing saying I have to pray during Ramadan. But then you go back at him and you say, what about Surah Baqarah? Because in Surah Baqarah, it talks about you must do everything before you make your sum. You must do this certain things, eat, drink, and so forth and so on. Then you go to Surah Al-Mu'minun, which is Surah 23. And then you go where I think it's the fifth verse, I believe it is, where Subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the strong, devout Muslim protects his salat. You use that as well against this person who talks like that. Then you go back to the Sharia. If he's still not convinced, then he's still saying, no. You go to the Sharia and ask what happens to the person who's declared kafir after he has not prayed. What happens to this person? It's a serious business. You are executed. You could be executed because now you have abandoned Salah. Now you are a disbeliever. It's a serious thing because you corrupt the community. Now, as I said earlier, Sheikh Kawadawi, our famous father Sheikh, he said that we should not get on the people and we should try to bring them. I agree with him. That's why my tack is, I know there's people, I know some don't pray, period, even in Ramadan. I don't talk to them about it because, it's between, they're not hurting anybody. They only hurt themselves. But the ones who promote this, who try to hurt the other Muslims, those are the ones I fight, who go out to declare, those I fight. But the one who doesn't pray, I know many, and even in Ramadan, and they even smoke even during Ramadan. I don't say nothing to them because they're not hurting anybody except themselves. And they have to deal with Subhanahu wa ta'ala on Judgment Day on that. And I let them to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't fight me for my salat. They don't fight me for my iman or anything like that. But I wanted to bring something to your attention. And I gave you another Surah 35 that when I kind of prayed on this and I asked for guidance and I got to thinking about this issue. And I said to myself, I know Subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom in his book, the Quran, that he covers the areas to give us good guidance. And I saw here in Surah 35, Fatur, that Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to read it. Why? Because it's important. It's important that we understand, again, the significance of Ramadan, but also following Subhanahu wa ta'ala and not following our number one arch enemy. Who is that? Remember I told last week, it's not the Tubab, not the racist Tubab and racist Tubab cop. No, not the legislators who go, it's Shaitan, right? He is our number one enemy, but he's arrested. But I want to bring you to something that Subhanahu wa ta'ala said here. In 3, and I'm gonna get to this. In Surah 35, okay, Surah 35 and verse 3, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O man, call to mind the grace of Allah to you. He is the creator other than Allah to give you substance from heaven or earth. There's no God but him. How then are you deluded away from the truth?" Falsehood. These Muslims who are declaring about the Ramadan and don't make the prayer in it, that's a falsehood. Don't follow it. Okay, 1. Let's go to 4. He says, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if they reject you, so were messengers rejected before you. To Allah go back for this decision in all matters. Remember what I said? Remember when I was talking about this? We have a dispute. My good brother here on my left says, hey, Yahya, I disagree with you, brother. I think that these guys, I think they're just, they're rebellious in Islam. My brother to the right says, no, I disagree with Muhammad. I believe them to be kafir. They don't pray in Ramadan. They don't pray during the year. I believe them to be kafir. So we have a dispute between my two brothers here. Ahmed on the left, he's saying one thing, and my brother Muhammad on the right is saying another. So how do we reconcile that? We have the Sheikh Islam who gives directions on this issue. We have Sheikh Islam Deluxe as well, Ibn Taymiyyah, which if you read his fatwas, is about 500, I mean, maybe 5,000 pages. I mean, he's covered everything. When he talks about this issue, he deems them to be kafir, straight out. Excuse or no excuse, he deemed them to be disbelievers, period. So how do we reconcile this? He says again, in the fourth surah, this is surah 35, in the fourth verse, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go back for decision in all affairs. To Allah, go back for decision all affairs. That settles it. So we have Ahmed to the left saying one thing. We have Muhammad saying another. How do we reconcile? We go back to subhanahu wa ta'ala and we go back to his messenger. What did the messenger say about this? We know he prayed in Ramadan, didn't he? We know the first generations did the same thing. We know the generation after that did the same thing. And we know all of the famous Sheikhs, Islams, they all prayed in Ramadan. They did not abandon the Salat. We know the famous Mujaddin who had a special calling from subhanahu wa ta'ala, who put them every 100 years. It says that he puts one of these in all of them. We have reformers who come back when people get away from, again, like we have now. We have people trying to get away from the Sunnah, and he's trying to bring us back to the Sunnah and to the Quran. So we have all of these people we watch and we follow, and they're following subhanahu wa ta'ala's orders. That's how we settle this issue. Now let's go on. The fifth. Now again, for those who may be listening, we're at Surah 35, and we at the fifth verse. Now, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O man, certainly the promise of Allah is true. Let not these present lives deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah." Now, we have deception here, don't we? Why are these people coming out to try to deceive us? Why is that? Why are we having people come to deceive us, to tell us that Ramadan, the Muslim doesn't have to pray? Interesting, isn't it? We'll get to that. Now, Surah, for those who are showing up late, Surah 35, now verse 6. Listen to an answer subhanahu wa ta'ala gives about what I just said. Verily, Satan is an enemy to you, so treat him as an enemy. He only invites his adherents. Interesting. That's his party. Those people who follow him in secret, that they may become companions of the blaze of fire. You got to remember something. Even though the devil is in jail now, subhanahu wa ta'ala has locked him up 30 days in Ramadan. But the companions of the devil, okay, his salve, his union of men and women who follow him, I believe they're behind that. This is my opinion, because what rightful person, if they're Muslim, could come out and declare among the other Muslims that they don't have to pray in Ramadan? They don't have to pray. They have to be a part of the Hizb of Shaitan, because the party of Shaitan, they have to be, because subhanahu wa ta'ala never guided a Muslim to go away from the Salat. Never. He's and here in the Quran, he's advised you to it because there's great reward in it. And our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is warning you against going away from the Salat. He said that farqa baina Muslim, baina kafir. I'm speaking Arabic. Salat. The difference between the Muslim and the disbeliever is the Salat. Now let's go to another issue. Again, the Salat. I mean the Psalm. we have people who are non-Muslims who make they make all kind of sawm, fasting for medicinal purposes. They want to cleanse their body. We don't do that. I mean, yes, we do. We fast to do, but we have an Islamic guidance to this. We have a method to this to the salat. I mean, to the psalm, to fasting. We must follow that guide. If we follow that guide, we have a better chance of cleansing ourselves than the person who's a non-Muslim who fasts in some way, because many times when they fast, they don't fast correctly. So why are we going to copy them? But these people who are going, like in some in the United States, we have some in Europe. I'm hearing that they're talking about this. I've heard Pakistan, in India. I heard in 57 Muslim countries, we have these people now advocating this. No salat in Ramadan. And their Ramadan is okay. Incredible. Incredible. But this have to be something, subhanahu wa ta'ala hit it on the head. His adherents. That means the people who follow him. They're not locked up. They're out here running around. They're not locked up. And they're promoting mischief. And by going in between the Muslims, having Muhammad here say one thing on my right and Ahmed say another, because why? They got in between there. And he brought a problem to both of them and say, look, Yahya, you're the elder, but I'm going to talk to Muhammad. I'm going to talk to Ahmed. This is what I'm doing. I don't need to pray, because I heard one guy over here say, I don't need to pray in Ramadan. Muhammad gets mad. He starts to go after the guy. Ahmed stops him and begin to talk to the guy and starts saying, well, look, if you want the full Azure, he began to promote the Islam. Muhammad doesn't want to promote, because he's more of a discipline of Sheikh Temiyah, rahimahullah, who says, a man is a disbeliever, period. He's overtaken more or less like what Sheikh Kawadawi is saying, that we should be more gentle and more diplomatic with our brother who has been wayward away from the salat. So we have, again, you see what happens when the people who follow the devil, what they do to the Muslim community. They cause dissension. They cause dissension from their misguidance. That's right. We have to be very careful, my brothers and sisters, in this. And subhanahu wa ta'ala is said adherents, the devil's adherents. And he wants to bring many people to the fire. If he can get you to innovate in Ramadan, that's a victory for him, because he knows that our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, puts great significance. Subhanahu wa ta'ala places great significance on this particular month, because the Quran was revealed in this blessed and sacred month. So if they can draw a wedge between you and me because of his misguidance, that's what they're trying to do. And this is the act of the devil. And as I said, one of the greatest proofs, my dear brothers and sisters, subhanahu wa ta'ala never told in any place in the Quran, you don't pray. It's the exact opposite of that. He wants you, and that's why in here he has names. Says the Deen, okay? The people who make prostrations, he calls them by name. The Raka'een, the people who make the bowing, he gives them a name, this importance of it. He gives the importance of this, okay? He gives names to the Muslims who do prostrate, the names of the Muslims who make the bowing. When the Muslims make they make their bow before they go into prostration, he gives them names, and he gives them high reference in the Quran. He doesn't give high reference to this man over here who comes in between Muhammad here and Ahmed and tells them, I don't have to pray. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not behind this man. He didn't get that he did not get this misguidance from Subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is from his own and from the devil. And remember, I gave that lesson last week about the footsteps of the devil. The devil loves to make misguidance in this month, because he knows our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, has made great importance about this particular month. And And subhanahu wa ta'ala has made great reference. The rewards are so great in this month. And you got these kind of people who will come in and then try to divide us by telling you you don't have to pray in this month at all. You just make it so. And as I said, many of them sleep the whole day. There's no worship at all. There's no dicker to subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just sleep. They sleep and then get ready to eat. They eat, and in their worship, they get around and walk around and go visiting and have parties. This is what they do in Ramadan. There's no worship. There's no significance of the Ramadan to them. And then they turn back around and come to you and me and say, look, hey, guess what? My Ramadan is good. It's accepted. I don't have to do what you're doing. So why are you doing that? Why are you making your prayer? Why are you making a dick or two subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why are you doing all that? All you have to do is make your sawm and everything's okay. Don't follow that, my brothers and sisters. Don't follow that. Here, subhanahu wa ta'ala told you again. And there's any people who try to divide the Muslim community, they have to be working with the devil. You know that. Because subhanahu wa ta'ala, you always ask, my brothers and sisters, when some misguidance come to you, say, where is this coming from? Because you know it didn't come from subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't make this misguidance. That's coming from the devil. Then 7, and I'll be the last one I read off that. 7, he says, for those who reject Allah is a terrible penalty, but for those who believe and work righteous deeds is forgiveness and magnificent reward. This is Surah 35. That was verse 7. I read off the verses from 3 to 7. And subhanahu wa ta'ala sums it up good. He says, for those who reject Allah is a terrible penalty. You are rejecting subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan. I don't care how you conjure up and say, I don't have to pray. All I have to do is make sawm. You're not getting any reward. I know that Sheikh Kaudawi says we're not that judgment is for subhanahu wa ta'ala, for him to make. And we're supposed to be, and I have to take that tack as he said, because he is our father, Imam. So I have to go with him. But you can see my enmity towards these type of people who advocate this. So I have to take what he says in his fatwa and I have to go by it. Even though you hear my tone of voice, I'm not for it. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. And I don't want to have at it. You know what I mean? But I have to abide by what he says. But I also have to give you the proof to say you don't follow those people. You don't follow. And he says it best. For those who reject Allah is terrible penalty. But for those who believe and work righteous deeds is forgiveness. When you do as the Prophet has done, you get rewarded for that. And again, in closing, my dear brothers and sisters, what proof we have? When this guy comes to us, okay? Here's Ahmed, here's Muhammad, here's me in the center. He walked over to us and he says, guess what? I don't have to do this in Ramadan. I don't have to pray. I don't have to pray in Ramadan. The argument will be endless, but we always have the proof. We have the Quran and we have the Sunnah of Prophet. We have that. And we have the best example is what we use. So I asked this Muslim today, if this is the case, what did our Prophet do in Ramadan? Why he didn't follow what you're just saying? What did our Prophet do? He prayed and he made ibadah, meaning worship, deep worship in Ramadan. Then how about the companions? What did they follow? They followed the Prophet's lead. They made salat in Ramadan. Right? That's the key. He made that. And so this type of thing has to be analyzed and has to be analyzed good. And again, we always have the proof, and this is what we go by. We go by what our Prophet has done in this and the companions, and we go by also our famous fathers of the 4 madhab. What did they do? The 4 great imams, what did they do? Do you think they abandoned the salat in Ramadan? They did not. You follow that lead. You look at the mujahideen, fi sabilillah, the strong Muslims who fought. Talking about Khalid, Ibn Walid, Saif Allah. We look at Omar, radiallahu anhu. We look at all these great warriors. Fetch. I mean, there's so many great Muslim warriors. Did they abandon the Salat in Ramadan? No. Did they misguide their people under them? How about the great Amir Mu'mineen? We have in Africa. Do you think they abandoned the Salat? No, they did not in Ramadan. How about all our great Sheikh Islams in Africa, in West Africa in particular? Let's look at them. How about Sheikh Ahmed Baba Sudani? Did he abandon the Salat in Ramadan? No, he did not. How about our great Sheikh in Nigeria, who had a sultan that was almost as big as the United States? Usman Den Fodio. Did he abandon the Salat? No, he didn't. In Ramadan? No, he did not. He had deep worship. He had devout worship in Ramadan. So we have thousands of years of guidance. So I'm giving you something, brothers and sisters. When you hear this misguidance, don't follow it, okay? Don't follow it. Ignore it, and try to bring that person, because Sheikh Kawadawi said we should try to bring them to the right way by talking to them gently and try to get them to abandon this misguidance. But if they're adamant and they come to tell you, no, they're not going to do it, then you move away from them. That's all, because it's all you can do. You can do no more. But I wanted to talk today, my dear brothers and sisters, about this issue, because I wanted to clear this up. And it burned me up to hear that we have this type of misguidance being used by Muslims who say that you don't have to pray in Ramadan. I don't like it. Sheikh Kawadawi, he summed it up. Anyone who wants a copy of this fatwa from Sheikh Kawadawi about the fasting and no prayer in Ramadan, you can get a hold of me and I can send it to you, and then you can have it translated. If you can read the Arabic, okay. If you can't, you can still translate it, Google, and they've got other translations that you can find that can translate the document, but at least you'll get the gist of it if you want that. And so this is this is a quick thing today I wanted to do. I wanted to talk. I talked a little long because this is an important issue. I wanted to go over some of the proofs because my brothers and sisters, when something come out, I will try to give it to you to arm you, because we need to protect from misguidance, and especially inside United States and West Indies, where we don't have a lot of scholars and people of knowledge to give knowledge to our brothers. There's a lot of misguidance, and we have a lot of people doing a lot of things, and I don't want to see our brothers and sisters being misguided, because we have that problem today. We have a lot of non-African Americans who look at the African American Muslims and they see them being backward because they don't have any teachings. That they have to fend for themselves. And this is something I'm hoping that Subhanahu wa ta'ala eradicates and stuff. But if those who know me, and hopefully, inshallah, some people will start coming to follow me and so forth and so on, I will give them the right guidance to help them to learn their deen better, because that's what I want to do. Because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with a certain amount of knowledge, and I try to use that. I don't try to hide it. I don't try to keep it for a rainy day. I try to give it to my brothers and sisters. And irrespective, I want to say something too, irrespective. Yes, I'm making a certain appeal to African Americans because we're the ones who are hurting the most. We don't have this education. But a Muslim is a Muslim. I don't care where he's from. And again, I don't care if this guy is from Bosnia, as I always say. If he wants to come listen to me, that's fine. You want to learn? I don't have no, he's my brother, as I told you before. If the man is practicing Muslim, I don't care where he's from. I don't care what nationality he is. He's my brother. So, but I do have I do have a field I push towards the African Americans, because because they just don't have people to teach them, and so I give these lessons in the English language so they can get to understand this. Because if I start speaking Arabic, they're not going to understand that. So this is what I'm doing. So my dear brothers and sisters, we're still in Ramadan. I'm hoping that your Ramadan is a fruitful one for you now, and that you ask Subhanahu wa Taala, for His acceptance. And let me give you some more advice, my dear brother, something that you can gain more azure. Right before Maghrib prayer, even before Ramadan, you should make your dua before that. Subhanahu wa Taala listens to that. Right before Maghrib prayer, you get a lot of credit for that. So that's another thing. You can increase the amount of azure that you can get from Subhanahu wa Taala is by doing this. And so anyway, I'm hoping that you take this guidance from me, and do your studies and have a fruitful Ramadan and everything, and eat good, my dear brothers and sisters. Eat wholesomely and follow the right guidance until we meet again. And I hope Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bless you, because those in the United States in particular, I'm just so afraid for all melanated people. If your skin is brown or black, one more thing and I'm gonna stop. I just heard there in California, there's a lawsuit, because I know many Hispanics say, they're only killing black people. That's not the case. I heard they just killed a Mexican man in California. They almost beat him to death. So that's now come up to light. They don't care, my brothers and sisters, if you are Mexican or you African. You're not white, okay? That's bottom line, and they'll kill you. They'll kill you. And so I have fear for my brothers and sisters there and all the melanated people in America. It is a war zone. It's a killing zone now. It's a killing zone inside the United States. And so you must be very careful when you step out your house. Be very mindful of where you go, who's behind you. If they stop you, be mindful to be respectful. Don't do nothing to get you shot. I know sometimes you don't have to do anything, they still shoot you. But again, my brothers and sisters, be mindful of that. And my young brothers and sisters, let me offer this advice to you. We should start going back to in my year. I had my parents. Sometimes my mom would go with me, my dad would go with me as a chaperone. I think we should start implementing that, because too many of our sons go and they're not doing nothing. They go to drive to McDonald's and they stop by the rogue 2-by cop and they're blown away. Or they come out from the mall and they get killed, or they come out from McDonald's and they get killed. We should go back to I think chaperoning our young people until they reach the age of adulthood when they can take care of themselves. But I believe that we should go back. If they're 15, 16, 17 and driving, I believe our parents, I know how it is. I didn't like it, but I see the wisdom behind it, to go with our children, maybe even drop them off. If they go to a dance, you take them there and then take them home. You have less likely a chance of having a death hit our sons when you have moms and pops driving the car. They most likely don't want to do much, but when they see a young brother, they're gonna have at it. He has no protection, and they know their hormones and everything. They get hot easy, and they bait them. They bait them until they get the excuse. Yes, this punk, this is what he did to me in the car. I saw him reach for the knife, and they blow our sons away. So my brothers and sisters, I'm just giving you some advice. Those who have the teenagers, I think we should start implementing chaperone service. Let them go out. Yes, let them enjoy their friends. But you take them and you pick them up, or you go with them and you protect them, because that's our livelihood. That's our next generation. And they're snuffing out our young generation. They put them in jail. They can't put them in jail. They're killing them. So please, my brothers and sisters, look at that. So, Mystic, thank you, my dear sister. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate your time here with me. Thank you very much. And my dear brothers and sisters, we always look and seek blessing from Subhanahu wa Taala and everything. So I leave you here with the words of paradise. Salamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.